So let's talk about The Housemaid. This is the latest adaptation of a book that we've had this year, and the book is actually a book written by Freida McFadden in 2022. So the book went on to become a pretty big seller and pretty much popular throughout, and I've seen this book many times, even before the adaptation. Always curious, but never really picked it up. Now I'm going to pick it up. So this movie is directed by Paul Feig, who's done some pretty good and twisted thorny movies with the Simple Favor series. So pretty much what this movie is about is Sydney Sweeney plays a young woman who becomes a live-in housemaid for a wealthy family, which is the family of Seyfried and Sklenar. Their seemingly perfect life unravels when she discovers their household hides dark secrets. Yeah, it gets pretty dark, a lot darker and twisted than I expected it to be. So let's get into it, the ending and all of that, and what comes next, and what exactly was a little bit different from the book that I hope we get to see more in the sequel. I watched this movie. I do have the review. Go check it out if you haven't already. I enjoyed it a lot. I thought it was a fun time at the theater. There's some mishaps here and there. Mainly it's Sweeney's performance. I've never been a fan of her acting, but that's just me. I don't know. But I do think that this movie truly was entertaining. So let's talk about it. Hit the subscribe button, notification bell. On the road to 50,000 subscribers. We got a big Christmas week ahead. I don't have internet yet, so I'm trying to get as many videos out, but I promise you I will find a way. Pretty much the film revolves around the character of Millie, who is played by Sydney Sweeney, as she becomes the housemaid to Nina Winchester, played by Amanda Seyfried, and her husband Andrew Winchester, played by Brandon Sklenar. Millie's just trying to appease Nina as much as she can because she really needs this job. She currently is houseless and she needs to find a way to make a living, and this is a pretty good gig because you also get paid, but you get a place to live in, food, all of that, so it just kind of works out for her. So pretty much throughout this film, we know that Millie needs to keep a job. She needs to have a place to stay as well for her parole to be able to continue. And the reason she went to jail is because she was trying to defend one of her friends from being raped by a fellow student. And this fellow student, of course, is some rich asshole who got killed by Millie because of what he was doing. The friend didn't back up Millie for what happened, and we pretty much assume it's because they were scared of retribution since the family was pretty wealthy. And so we see that Millie is then taken into prison, but then she is released early, given parole, but she has to maintain a job. That's why she really wanted to keep this job and did whatever she had to do. And we see that she is going to be now in a prison with Andrew because of. And then we find out the truth. What is the truth? Andrew is the real monster here. He's been the monster the whole time, and Nina was just trying to find an escape. Nina wanted Andrew to tell her, get out of here, we're getting a divorce, we're done. Because we quickly pivot to Nina's perspective of all of this and go back to the beginning when her and Andrew met. And Andrew pretty much has been this very, very manipulative person. At first, he seems to be sweet, kind, and just the perfect person until you get to meet him, because we find out, of course, that Nina's daughter isn't actually Andrew's. She was already pregnant with her daughter. But what Andrew did was manipulate her and saying that, hey, I'll take care of you and your daughter. It's going to be good. Let's just get together. When they do get together, this is when the punishment starts after Nina's daughter is born. Anytime that Nina would get out of line, according to Andrew's perspective, he would lock her up in this attic and have her do these insane acts, whether it was tearing her hair or just having to spend time in there. He would do this to her. When she would try to sort of fight back or any of this, he eventually comes up with a plan. He stages a murder-suicide that Nina's going to do on her own daughter. So when the police arrive, it seems that Nina was trying to do this heinous act, but in fact, Andrew just staged it this way so Nina could get locked up. She gets locked up, sent away for a good time, and then when she comes back, she's sort of beaten down, and Andrew's able to keep controlling her, putting her in the attic when he needs to, and this is just horrible stuff. So Nina developed a plan to get somebody that Andrew would fall for. This would be the housemaid, and this is Millie now. If Millie falls for this and she eventually becomes Andrew's new it girl, then Nina can go, and this is what happens. Of course, Nina leaves a little weapon for Millie to fight back because she believes that Millie is capable of killing Andrew. Now, Nina, of course, doesn't really want Millie to suffer, but she's also looking for an escape, a way to be with her daughter, and the only way was to get Andrew to push her away because she couldn't run away herself, otherwise Andrew would come after her. And now we see that this whole thing has developed develop where Nina is being told by her daughter, like, we can leave, but we cannot leave Millie with him. He is a horrible person. So that's why we see Nina eventually go back to try and save Millie. And we see that Millie, of course, has already taken things into her own hands and has gotten Andrew in the attic himself. But of course, Nina didn't notice and eventually releases him. And we see that Andrew tries to now kill both Nina and Millie, but they eventually outsmart him and make him go over the stairs, which leads to his death. As the police arrive, we see that Nina stays behind as she says that she can handle this, that Nina should go, and she knows how to work her way around. The forensic expert knows that things seem a little fishy here. It doesn't seem that Andrew just fell trying to change a light bulb, which is the story that Nina has told them, but then realizes who Andrew is, and she knows that Andrew is a despicable human because Andrew was actually engaged to her sister, and she says that her sister was never the same after leaving Andrew, and she just knows what type of person he is. So maybe this was deserved. Now, we see the funeral happen, and this is when Millie returns, and Nina sees her, and Nina's just like, wait, you gotta leave. And Millie's like, bro, I'm on parole, I cannot leave. So Nina decides to give her $100,000 so she can continue on with her life. But now she has become an assassin of sorts, because then she is contacted by somebody that wants her as a housemaid, and she says, Nina recommended you, then says you're pretty good. We see that the woman has some bruises, and she says that her husband has a short temper. Millie's like, I can work with you, don't worry. So we're going to see Millie become an assassin of sorts. I don't know. I haven't read the book yet. If you've read the book, you probably know, but I have not. I definitely want to, but we'll talk more about that. I'm going to pick up the book and read it because I'm very curious what happens, and I cannot wait to see if they do or do not make a sequel to this film. But I thought it was great. It really showcases the abuse that some people go forward with, because a lot of people have a person that on the outside to strangers and all of that seem like the perfect match, right? This is an ideal husband. How can you not want an ideal husband like Andrew, right? But then we find out that deep down they are a piece of shit, and so we realize that there is more to them than meets the eye. And Brandon Sklenar played it so well with Andrew, because I was fooled. I didn't know what the hell this movie was about or what was going to happen, so I was fooled, y'all. When I saw that turn, I was like, oh shit, he's a piece of shit douchebag that needs to be taken out. And I was almost like thinking to my head that this movie was going to turn out different, that Nina was going to be the one that needed to be taken out, that she was going to kill Millie, that she was going to kill Andrew, all of this. I really thought Nina was the villain here, and I was fooled. I was fooled, y'all. But now I see clearly Andrew's a piece of shit and needed to go. And his mother also knows that's a piece of shit. So that's all I'm going to say about that. Let me know your thoughts and opinions on this movie and all, if you enjoyed it as well. But I thought it was really great the way they unraveled it all. Amanda Seyfried is just incredible in this film. I really love that. Hey, a lot of bonus points for that Since You've Been Gone needle drop. Incredible. Love that. I've loved that song for like 22 years now, y'all, and I cannot get enough of it. Just a timeless tune. But honestly, I'm excited for whatever comes next. I'm going to get on the second book probably in the next couple of weeks, and I need to know what happens. I need to know. But let me know if you're excited as well for a sequel for this one. And it's interesting that Michael Morone here playing Enzo didn't get a lot of like screen, because he is a very big figure in the book. Like, he does have his moments and all of that, but I feel like it could have been dived in deeper, and I would have loved to see that as well. But it sounds to me from what I've read that in the sequel, he is actually a very, very important part of this story. I do know that Enzo had been trying to help Nina throughout to escape Andrew, but he isn't present as much in the film, which I thought was interesting, because I think Mikhail was a pretty good addition in his role here whenever he was presented, so I wonder why they kind of made his performance a bit smaller here. In the book, in the finale, I do believe that Enzo and Millie eventually go on to work together. I don't know if we'll see Enzo come back if they do decide to do a sequel, but I thought it was a pretty good film, because you expect a lot of twists and turns, and then those twists and turns aren't it, but they're still twists and turns. Because to me, the way the film was painted at the beginning, from somebody who hasn't read the book, I was expecting Nina to be the one that turns, and I was expecting this house to go on fire, because Andrew sort of tries to paint Nina as the crazy, erratic one, right? The one that we don't know if she was the one who killed her parents in that house fire, right? And I think that when we eventually see the turn of Andrew, we're just like, oh, That's why Nina was acting like that. She was trying to get away. She was trying to be the one that gets pushed away. She was trying to make Andrew fall for Millie more and more and push her more away till she eventually is able to be let go, because Andrew was never going to let her go on his own. He wanted this control and this power, and you see that that's why Nina acted the way she did and eventually lead to the situation in which her and Millie were caught in. I think that she didn't want to hurt Millie, but she knew Millie could be the solution to her, and it was kind of a little bit selfish at the beginning. And I think that that's why she realizes when her daughter tells her about Millie that she's just like, you know what, we gotta go get Millie. We can't just leave her with this monster here. But we see that Millie has taken her fate into her own hands and decided to take out Andrew on herself. Could have gotten a lot worse probably, but eventually her and Nina are able to figure it out and take out Andrew. And I'm just curious to see where we go with a sequel. I haven't read the sequel book or what it's about either. I probably should pick up that book because I wonder when they will make a sequel. This movie's got to make a good amount of money, and we got to see what happens. And with Hollywood and stuff abandoning ideas, you know, I might not get that sequel, so I should just read the book. So very curious about that, but I thought the ending was great. I think it really showcases how some people can be so manipulative and to everybody, because everybody in his family, her friends, the neighborhood, the community, they saw Andrew as a respected person, somebody who was like the dream guy, right? But Nina knew the truth. This guy was a monster. This guy was going to probably eventually kill her and make it seem like she did it on her own. And I think Nina really escaped that situation, and that's good for her. And I really like that she came together with Millie to take him down. And now we go forward with Millie becoming a housemaid, like assassin of sorts of douchebag guys. I don't know. We'll see what happens. But let me know your thoughts and opinions on The Housemaid. If you enjoyed the film, if you liked the book, are you excited for a sequel if they make one, if you've read the other books? And what did you think about the movie itself? I enjoyed this one. As always, hit that subscribe button, hit the notification bell. 50,000 subscribers is the goal. I'll see you next time. Stay safe, stay positive.